wondered how to create a custom color palette? Well, our resident artist, Tori Weyers, is here. And Tori, you've brought an idea with you about creating it from seasons.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So right now we are on the birth of spring here in the Midwest, and really looking out and seeing the colors and taking inspiration from that and adding to your sketchbook kind of that life that's going on around you.
Okay, so how do we get started creating a color palette?
So I like to start with looking and taking photographs. So I have some here of spring and other areas of the country, and then just looking out windows is always an option as well. My studio has a dogwood tree, which is what this one's from. And I start with paint chips. I think it's a good place. We all love those free paint chips at hardware stores. So all the different greens and kind of looking at how you can match that up, and then mixing paints to match those chips and creating a whole page around it.
Cool.
So I have one started here, and just how do you start with that photograph? I added some paint chips here, mixed some colors, and
now,
what's
of course,
next?
these paint chips don't necessarily look like the ones that you're used to, because what you've done, I see, is just cut off some slices, right?
Yes.
And that way you actually can use a fairly small paint chip sort of over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it really just adds a little bit, especially in a sketchbook. You want to kind of gather all your inspiration and get it all in there in like little good juicy chunks. So it's really nice to have kind of a page with a bunch of different options for color on it.
Cool. So let's just look at this for a second, because I want to look at the paint chips. Will you just talk us through where you see each of those colors so I know how you pulled those 4 colors out?
Sure. So these kind of minty green and this light blue are really in this plant here. And this is kind of in the desert. So this is in California that I took this in spring. And it's really interesting how colors change in different places. The darker blue are on the edges, and then this red is on the very tippy edge there.
Very cool. And so now I know you have a bunch of different swatches out here. Are these just different materials in your studio that now you're trying to match these 4 colors?
Yeah, usually I start with a whole spread of color, and then I go in and start to sketch. So I want to capture the life, the shape, and really start to bring this whole page together as a whole study on the season and just what's out there in life.
And you know, I think sometimes color is one of the most difficult parts of getting started, because you're not totally sure what's going to coordinate, and you're not even sure what to put out on your desk. But if you do this and you say like, okay, these colored pencils, these paints, I think you like have a real head start on what you're doing. I actually find limiting my supplies enormously helpful.
Definitely. And really, this is just a few colors just repeated in different mediums. So I have obviously that paint chip, I have some colored pencils, some watercolor here, and how it all starts to come together to kind of get that essence of what you're looking at.
You know, it's funny, I wouldn't have thought about the red just looking at the photo because it's so blue to me, but of course I see the red now, and it has such impact when I see it here.
Yeah, those complementary colors are actually in nature quite a bit, and you kind of miss them.
Do you ever use your color palette for something that's not directly sketching the object in the photo? Or are you like, wow, I really like this color combo, I'm gonna use it for something else?
Definitely. That's where I think really looking at photos and nature and drawing color out can give you so many options for so many different things. Abstract paintings, other sketchbook pages.
Because remembering that a sketchbook is a workbook. That's such a cool idea. Thank you, Tori.
No problem.